So Will Hamm, project manager from Menold, right?
Yes, sir.
How long you been there?
About 4.5 years now.
Tell these folks a little bit about the situation you're in before you started.
Before I joined the family at Menold's, I was in one of the interviews, and one of the things they had told me was I wasn't going to have to live paycheck to paycheck anymore. My first thought was, all right, you guys are going to pay me a lot of money. That's not what happened. What they did do is they've given me a 4-year business degree through these principles. But before all this, they didn't know that I was spiritually and financially bankrupt. I was living in a camper in my parents' backyard, and I owed so much money that I didn't think I was ever going to be able to get out of debt. And that's kind of how that all started for me.
But what I love, I've watched your story on the YouTube, on that interweb, and what I love about your story, it was a progression. So tell them about the first time you walk in, first time you go to a huddle. How did it take off?
I'll never forget the first time that I looked at our scoreboard. I was like, our scorecard, and I'm just that's not for me. But then they started talking about staking the outcome. And I didn't really understand how that worked, but all I took from it was if I worked harder and worked longer and the company made more money, they were going to pay me more money. And that is not my understanding of it today. It's so much more through that. That's what I mean about that business degree. Now I understand the scorecard and how that works and how it can implement. And
well, you had an epiphany at one point, right?
I had moved up from a frontline carpenter to a superintendent managing all these jobs. And some of these jobs were $250,000 budgets. And what had happened is one day I was so in tuned in this job and doing a great job keeping track of the money. And it dawned on me, I'm looking and managing a $250,000 budget and I can't even keep track of my checkbook. And I'm still living paycheck to paycheck. And that's when it kind of clicked that, well, what are we doing here? And how can I take this home? And that's when it really began, like, okay.
So Will and I met for the first time, and he shows me his personal scoreboards. And if any of you do not have enough guilt and shame in your life, look at his personal scoreboard. It's unbelievable. Pie charts, bar charts, and you're tracking everything.
I track everything and forecast not only my finances, but I get bored easy. So now I forecast my 401k. I forecast my credit score, anything to the point where it's pretty bad. I was forecasting which elevator was going to come down first on the way down here. That's what this has done to me.
Man, this guy, he even keeps track of his credit score. Did you already say that? I mean, he's got it all down. And then, but this is, where's my man from International Cars? But there's more. It's not just that he has a scoreboard. You play your own personal mini games.
Yes, I do, and it's fun because I always win. But I started that small, and one of the things is before the great game of business, I never had a savings account that had more than $100 for more than a month. Yeah. And I can tell you that's not true today. So the first mini game was in 90 days, I want a $500 savings, and I want to hold that to 6 months. And I love traveling, so one of the things, the reward from that was whitewater rafting in North Carolina. And right now I'm currently playing probably the greatest mini game ever because I believe this can be applied to health and the way I live. So a few of us at the office have got this mini game going on that if we drink 4 bottles of water a day, we get ice cream on Friday. So Rachel, keep drinking your water. I'll be back Friday today for ice cream.
Real quick, tell them what your personal mini game is, what your prize is. The most recent one. Isn't that the trip?
Yeah, so if all goes as well, I fly out next month, the 21st, for 12 days in Hawaii. And that was because I reached that goal of being debt free. So that's exciting. Thank you.
It's pretty cool, man. Moving from the camper in your parents' backyard to living in paradise or sitting in paradise. So the last thing, though, we were talking about inspiring. And I'm sure everybody, all your coworkers thought, man, you're so cool to be focusing on your financial situation, but they ate it up like crazy, didn't they?
One of the greatest things about this is being able to sit down with other people, other coworkers, or even if it's friends, and just share my experience and show them and help them build their own scoreboard. And, Yesterday we talked about, we represent 15,000 employees here. And I'll be honest with you, I was scared to ask for help. And I know I'm not the only one that was living paycheck to paycheck. And there's so many people out there right now that work with us that don't understand that the answer and the solution's right in front of them. And, just being willing to give this away, that's the bright spot.
But you made a really good point too when we talked to that. Who is the best person to reach them? Who's the best person to talk to those people?
Peer to peer, us right here on the front lines, going out and talking this on the floors, out on the job sites, and being willing to take that time to sit down and meet with one another. It's a lot more comfortable. For me, I had a lot of mentors on the way. Two of the biggest one's our CFO, Shane. He's got this thing we all make fun of called Shane Math. One of these days, I'm going to figure that out. He's the CFO, so the math behind it, working on that. And then my branch manager, JD. These guys, through this process, were always willing, no matter what, to sit down and explain things. And, and I feel that's my purpose. I loved how we talked about, what's your purpose? My purpose is to take this and to share this with as many people as I can.
It's outstanding, man. Thank you so much.
Thank
Well
you.
done. Well done.